Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, here we go. It's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. Tonight is episode 57. We're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium, like we always do. Then we're going to talk about some news from around the league over this past week. After that, we're going to start the first of a several-part series. We're going to provide our 2021 outlook on the AFC and NFC East teams. Next week, we'll go to the West, then we'll go to the South, and we'll finish things off with the North. And so then for tonight, last but not least, we are going to close things off with question of the week. And so with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. It's going good. I'm starting to feel my second wind come around. It's been a long, tiring kind of week, but of course, every time we talk about football, it's just kind of energizing for me. So I'm feeling better already.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's kick it over to Name That Stadium. For anybody who's watching, this is the part of the show where you can see James is out there traveling the country. Every week he's got a new stadium in his background. If you think you know where he's at, hit us up in the comments section. If you're the first person to get the answer right, we're going to give you a special shout out next week's show. And so, James, why don't you tell us where you were at last week, man?
Last week I was in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium. We were talking about busts last week, and I felt like a lot of my busts when I was going through my list were New England players, so they went with it.
So it was appropriate. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of letdowns there, huh?
Yeah,
Well, that's gonna jack up my outlook on New England for tonight. Then you're not gonna like what I got to say about them, but we'll cross that bridge when the time comes.
well that was just for fantasy purposes. It wasn't for win loss because like when we get to it, you saw how many wins I have New England having this year.
Okay, well, you're making me feel better then because yeah, I think I went a little crazy with what I got going on for them. But all right, so let's move it on then. Let's do our recap of the past week. And so, I think the big thing, obviously, the Hall of Fame game was last week, and that's all fine and dandy. But preseason is here. We're starting to get some football action, and it's that time of the year, man. I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie because I'm already getting a little bit cold, and it's been a warm week here. It's just like all of a sudden the fall is upon us almost, and so yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah, it's what do we say? 5 weeks till the end of the season officially starts on that Thursday night.
Is it 5 weeks
Yeah,
or
because
four?
it's 4 weeks. We have going into this week. We had 4 episodes left before the official start of the season.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it'll be here before you know it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Excited for
Uh,
the disappointment.
excited for the disappointment. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess maybe I'm wearing the disappointment if that's what you mean.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know. You can't be disappointed when you don't expect much. So, yeah. Okay, so in other news, this is one that you just caught real quick as Dion Lewis announced his retirement from the NFL. I believe he played for 8 seasons. He had some time in New England, some time with the Giants. I forget where else he was, but always sort of a complimentary player. He had some flashes of potential earlier on his career. Never really could get anything more going than that. But 8 years for a running back in this league, that's a pretty good time, man.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, he had a decent career. I mean, like 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns for 8 seasons. That's not bad for splitting. He was splitting a lot of carries up there in New England. He played in the Super Bowl twice and won it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's feeling pretty good about himself.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so the next thing I picked up on this week was the Jags traded linebacker Joe Schobert to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which it seemed like from what I read was a little bit of a shock, where a little bit of a shock and a little bit not a shock because Some people are saying, hey, Urban Meyer wants his guys. He's going to do things his way. And, he's just calling it right now. Schobert doesn't really fit what he wants, and so he's getting him out of there. Pittsburgh ended up being the beneficiary. They're already saying that he's likely to start on that defense, it's like a rich getting richer kind of thing. Schobert, I'm trying to think of how long ago it was, but he was a Pro Bowler for one season, I believe. And so, uh, you know, solid pickup for Pittsburgh at this late in the game. And, Urban Meyer's going to do his thing. If the guy doesn't work, get him out of there. I get it. It's fine. This is year one for him to, put his stamp on Jacksonville.
Yeah, and we had talked a little bit about it before, and that's what I like about Urban Meyer. And whenever you get new coaches coming in, new GMs, they have no ties to these players that are already on the team.
Yep.
And it's just like, you're not my guy, you're not my guy. Fuck you, get out of here. And I kind of like that, especially as bad as Jacksonville has been the last 3 years. Because was it 4 years ago they went to the AFC Championship
the AFC
game?
Championship, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 4 years ago, and then they kind of just dropped off the cliff from there. So
Yeah,
I mean, they got a lot to do down there.
yeah, and I like what you're saying, especially because it's year one of him building that franchise his way. It's like, if you're going to make big moves, like in terms of like getting rid of guys, that's the time to do it because, you're going to take your cap hits early on as you're bringing in your guys. And typically you have a couple years before the fans are going to come calling for your head. And, he just drafted his franchise quarterback. He already has pieces, and I mean, I'm going to smoke Jacksonville in my 2021 outlook, but honestly, I think they will outperform what I've projected for them because they do have talent. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying with Urban Meyer, man. Make your moves, man. It's your team.
Yeah, and the only thing that's kind of annoying me about Urban Meyer is, I mean, it's obvious to everyone that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the starting quarterback down there, but
Oh
he
yeah.
says, "Oh yeah, we're still in a competition for it," blah blah blah. And I don't know if that's to kind of like get Gardner Minshew to
Trade value boost.
interested in playing so they can get trade value for him or what, but it's just, I mean, come on. Everyone knows who's going to be the starting quarterback there. Just name him the starting quarterback and move on.
Yeah, I gotta believe that's all it is that they're trying to get Minshew on the radar for somebody to just throw him something. I mean, the guy does have a decent number of starts under his belt for how young he is that, you'd think somebody would come calling. And maybe teams are, it's just not hitting the spot yet. So who knows?
Yeah.
So the last thing that I had on the news was I saw rookie wide receiver Rashad Bateman out of Baltimore is having groin surgery. I think he's going to be back. They're expecting for week one. Could be a little bit ginger in those first couple weeks, but he got a lot of hype in the offseason, and so it'll be interesting to see how it goes for him with this because I think that they were expecting him to be an impact player right out of the gate this year, and this might slow that down a little bit.
I completely zoned out and missed what you said.
You son of a bitch, dude. You son of a bitch. What are we even doing here, James? Are we lollygagging or are we talking football?
Sorry. Some Lions highlights popped up on my phone, and
Oh, well, it's
I got
Lions.
distracted.
It's Lions.
I got distracted. It's Amon Ross St. Brown, or however you say his
Yes.
name, and running some nice crisp routes.
I honestly, man, I like what I'm seeing from him so far. I
Yeah,
do. I think he's going to step up and be one of our top wideouts this year, which as a rookie would be impressive.
yeah, exactly. I just got distracted by that, and I completely gapped on
Okay.
what you
It
said.
it was football. I forgive you. You weren't ordering dinner or anything like that. I got you. We're good, man. I just, had to get at you. All right. So, news-wise, anything else on your radar from this past week?
Um, the one thing I'm hearing a lot this week, and you had we had briefly talked about it with Jaguar shopping. What's his name? C.J. Henderson, and I'm hearing a lot that basically the trade is going to be some kind of package for with C.J. Henderson in it, and having and getting Michael Thomas back. You got all that shit that's going on
Well, I
with
guess the
his
Saints,
great
yeah, they just had, what was
Saints.
it? Patrick Robinson retired.
Yeah, and like what's his Sean Payton and the team, like apparently Michael Thomas was texted or was the team reached out to him about his surgery and he didn't respond and then he had the
Yeah.
surgery way late. And so I've been hearing a lot of rumors about Michael Thomas being traded from New Orleans.
Okay. Well, let's talk more about that later. How about that?
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else in the news?
I think that was about it. Like you got these teams like Haskins apparently looked phenomenal in Pittsburgh, and possibly like there's a lot of talk about him possibly starting for Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah, I don't see that shit happening.
Yeah, I was like, I I, I didn't hear I didn't see that shit. I don't see that shit happening either. But it was weird that like there was like a lot of talk online about it, and like
Eh, it's
on,
preseason.
on news websites too, like like CBS, NFL. I forget where it was, and there was a couple articles about Haskins possibly starting this year.
I'm not buying into it, but hey, we'll see.
Yeah, but that's about it.
Okay. Well, then, let's shift gears and let's jump into our AFC and NFC East 2021 outlook. And so, we did this last year at the same time, which was fun. And so, basically, what we're talking about is, it's still preseason. And so, we're just kind of taking all of the information that we've collected up to this point in time, where these teams finished last year and sort of the narrative to how they finished, and then what they've done in the offseason. Did they switch up coaches? What guys did they re-sign? What guys did they let go in free agency? Who they brought in the draft? All that kind of fun stuff. And then the limited amount of off-season news up until this week, our first real week of preseason. And we're saying, based on all of that up until now, how do we think these guys are going to perform this year, knowing that there's going to be injuries and trades and people that come out of the woodwork and kick a bunch of ass and people that flop and all sorts of things. And so, the odds of these being right are basically zero. But that's not the point. The point is that, we're just kind of saying, based on everything we know right now, this is what we like, this is what we don't like. And once we get into the regular season, at that point, we'll update these because we'll have all of the preseason work now behind us or then behind us. And then every week we'll do our power rankings and just keep it going from there. So, okay, so where do you want to start? AFC, alphabetical?
Yeah, let's start with the AFC.
Okay, so James, why don't you give me your AFC East predictions, wins, losses by team, and if you want just a couple quick comments on each of them, whatever you're thinking, and then I'll do the same.
All right, so I have the Buffalo is the clear team to win the division at 13-4. I mean, it's basically for more or less the same team. They've added some pieces with what's his face.
Well, they brought in Emmanuel Sanders at receiver.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders. Sorry, I just drew a blank on his name, and that's who I was thinking. It was Sanders. So they added Sanders. You have another year of chemistry between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. Josh Allen doesn't have his contract hanging over him, and they're clearly the class of the AFC East. So I have them going 13-4. And then I have New England at 10-7. And I think fantasy-wise, the there's a lot of overrated players on the team, but for purposes of wins losses and then looking at their schedule, like I mean they have a fairly cake schedule
Hmm.
this this year. If they do the right thing and start Mac Jones week 1,
Hmm.
then it could be actually a high. They could have probably 12 wins this year, but I think that's the difference. Starting Cam Newton versus Mac Jones, I put them at 10-7,
Okay.
and I have Miami at 9-8, and you know I was really high on Tua going into last season,
Yeah.
and I thought he was going to be a phenom. They didn't really give him much confidence last year. His How he played last year, I mean, he even called it mediocre, and it was he was a rookie and he has another year in the system, but I don't I don't like the stuff I'm hearing from the team, like this whole Xavier Howard
Yes.
situation, and I see the defense being a little bit worse. And frankly, last year they lucked into a couple of those wins, and you don't have Fitzpatrick to come in and save Tua's ass. So I have them at 9-8, and then at the bottom of the barrel for the AFC East, I have the New York Jets, and I have them at 2-15, and what this boiled down to for me was number one. I looked at looking at their schedule. I thought their schedule was fairly difficult coming into this year,
Hmm.
and I don't know who Zach Wilson is. I don't see. I don't have enough on him to say that he is going to be a true starting quarterback. I think they could have done other things in this draft. They could have drafted Justin Fields. They could have drafted Trey Lance. And I think from what I've seen, those two quarterbacks are going to end up better than Zach Wilson. But I just don't have enough on him to be able to project much for his future.
Okay. Yeah, and I am hearing there's a lot of criticism so far that he just doesn't really look composed and the accuracy is not there. And, um, but the thing is, I've also heard that they knew that going in he was going to be a project and that they were taking, a lot of pros with some cons and that they knew they were going to have to work on them. And so I think they're expecting it'll be a little bit rocky, but it's about a long-term payoff potentially, and we'll see. But I agree with you. He did kind of seem to, as the draft was coming along, pop on the radar sort of abruptly, and like the hype train just started rolling, and there was a lot of good like tape on him with some flashy plays that like helped feed into that. But it's tough. I mean, BYU and all those things. It's like really, like some of that makes it hard to evaluate, and so it just, yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with what you're saying.
I like throughout the season last year. I mean, there were times where we talked about it, and mock drafts that were popping up in the off season. Like I heard a lot about him, and the one game I watched, it was the Coastal Carolina game. And granted, like they had basically 2 days to prepare for that game. Like BYU's game was canceled because their opponent got COVID, and or no. Coastal Carolina's game was canceled because their opponent got COVID, and BYU happened to be on a bye on Wednesday. So the athletic director for Coastal Carolina called up the athletic director for BYU and said, let's play this weekend. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And it was just, he did not impress me in that game at all. And that was the toughest competition he faced all year.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Hey, nobody's got the crystal ball, but yeah, there's definitely some things you got to worry about.
Yeah.
Okay, so kicking it over to me, looking at the
Oh,
AFC
and
East.
also
Oh,
at 10-7, I have New England just narrowly missing the playoffs.
oh, gotcha. Okay. Um, so here's what I've got at the AFC. Well, I guess here, let me start with this. I'll give you my methodology a little bit, and then we'll jump into my record predictions. So basically, what I did is I looked at all the factors we discussed earlier, and then I created a set of power rankings, and I plugged my power rankings into a schedule with sort of like a home team rating versus an away team rating, and I let that kind of just sort of quantitatively give me what the record should be. And then after that, I kind of eyeballed it because, those teams at the top, they kind of like slide away with the record, and those teams at the bottom just get crushed. And you kind of got to go in and you say, yeah, these division games are tighter than you think, or, this, that, the other thing. You come up with some reasons to sort of just tweak it a little bit here and there. And some of them are still a little bit wild, I'll tell you that. And I know that I'm going to massage these as we get closer to the season. But we're running with them for now because we can, and it's about having fun. And so I've got Buffalo and New England both at the top, tied with Buffalo getting the tiebreaker at 14-3, which I think is aggressive. I think Buffalo could hit it. I think it's aggressive for New England, but I will say I did spend some time looking at the schedule, and I could see maybe one game or two where they drop. So I could see them maybe being down at 12 wins instead of 14. But those couple of games where I see it swinging, those ended up being home games for them. And so I kind of thought, okay, for the sake of what we're doing tonight, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It looks fucking strong as hell, and I'm not totally sold on what they got going on at quarterback, but we're going to run with it for now. So Buffalo at 1, New England at 2, and at 3 I got Miami at 8 and 9. I agree with you, man. I'm not really big on Tua right now, and I've watched some of the tape on him in the offseason, and I don't know what it is, James. I know that he's a lefty, and so I think that maybe that's messing with my eyes a little bit, but I just don't like what I'm seeing on the ball, like the zip on the ball, and just kind of like the arc on the ball. Something just doesn't look right to me, and I mean I've been telling you since last year that until I really see this guy do it, I'm going to be just skeptical. And I was high on him going into the draft last year. I really was, but it just seems like as soon as I started watching him play, I started thinking, I don't know, man. Maybe he's not what I thought he was going to be at the NFL level, and that's given me pause. And I agree with you. There's some funny business going on in Miami. They should have locked in Xavier Howard. They shouldn't have played that game. Um, this offseason was good. I don't think it was as good as last year. I was like really impressed with what they did last year. And like you said, Fitzmagic's out. I think they overperformed last year. And so there's just, in my opinion, some headwinds working against them. And so, but I think 8 and 9 is still respectable, especially where they're at with this new regime. I mean, this is really just year 2 with this new regime. So I'm good with them at 8 and 9, and they have room to beat that, I think. And then last but not least, I got the New York Jets. I've got them at 4-13. And when you said 2-15, James, honestly, I was kind of right there with you. But I think they have a few things going on at the end of the season that can end up kind of gifting them an extra win or two here or there. And so I put them at 4-13, and I'm good with that for now. But yeah, I'm hearing some negative things on Zach Wilson right now. We do know it's Robert Saleh's first year as a head coach. They've got some pieces on defense, and so I like that. But I am expecting it to be a very rocky season. And I'll tell you this: I've got them losing their first 6 straight right out of the gate, and so it'll be a rocky year for them, man.
Well, we're pretty close on that one. I have them losing their first 5.
Okay.
And the reason why I had them beating New England was because of the fact that New England's schedule right right around there. Like they play Tampa Bay, the Houston, and Dallas, then the Jets. So like that's kind of like you have a couple hard teams in there, and that's why I had them winning that game. But then after that, I have them losing their next 4. So what's that?
Okay.
Uh, losing and then beating Houston and then losing out. So it's like the I just think they with the first win they luck out on New England's schedule.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And hey, it's interesting logic. It can happen for sure. And that's the thing. Anything can happen, man. I mean, it's any given Sunday we see crazy shit every week. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, going back to my New England 14-3, that's a little bit hot. I think they're likely to uh, miss that by a couple games. Miami, I think they're going to be right in that range. I really do. The Jets, I could see them 2 to 4 wins somewhere around there. And yeah, Buffalo, you got them at 13. I got them at 14. I think that's solid for them. I think barring some kind of significant injury, they should definitely be a front runner, and everybody in their mom is expecting that. So
Yeah, and I mean, I have in my projections, I have Buffalo going to the Super Bowl this year.
nice, nice. See, I didn't go into the playoff stuff yet. I wanna really massage this as we go through it these
Yeah,
next couple weeks, and then when we close it out, I'll feel good about making some playoff predictions.
yeah, I
You're just
just
all
want
over it, man. What did
yeah.
you have the week off of work or some shit?
No, I had like an hour or so today to sit down and actually work on this. I had a little lull in the middle of the day, so I was actually able to work on it a little bit.
Nice, nice. That's good stuff, man. You got to take it when you can get it. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
we do have day jobs for people that are watching. So they're like, damn, these bums aren't. What's going on here? Yeah, no, we work. We work other places. Okay. Okay, so let's kick it over to the NFC East. And James, I will have you go first again, my friend.
So the NFC East, like we had talked about it like in like April or May, and kind of did a projection on the season for it. And this is where I had the majority of my changes on my projection. And I had previously had the entire NFC East sub 500,
Okay.
and so I have Dallas and Washington actually tied at 11-6, and Dallas getting the edge on the tiebreaker to win the division. I
Okay.
with Dallas, I just really like what I'm hearing out of Dallas. I like what I'm seeing with them. I'm not concerned about the Prescott shoulder injury. Yeah, another MRI, or got another MRI this week, but I have no concern. Basically, you hear Mike McCarthy talk, and he basically said, if this was September, this was regular season, he would be playing. Like,
Okay.
there's no question about it. Like, there's no concern about his shoulder injury. It's just soreness from because he hadn't been throwing in a while, and that's all it is. At Washington, I want Washington. I want to pick them higher, and this one actually concerns me at 11. Even at 11-6, I think it might be a little bit high for them, because while I absolutely love that defense they have going on up there
Hmm.
with Young and with Young
Oh,
and
yes, Montez Sweat or whatever.
yeah, Sweat. Thank you. I and I love what they have going on the defense. What concerns me is it's one of the worst quarterback rooms in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of Houston, it's possibly the second worst quarterback room besides Houston in the league. And the quarterback play is going to be key there. Heineke, I don't think is a solution. Yeah, he played good in the playoff game against Tampa Bay, and he looked good, but I mean, I don't think he's going to be the quarterback next year. Fitzpatrick, you have both sides. You have Fitzmagic, you have Fitztragic, and he's not a starter. He's that relief guy, that guy that can come in
He's a
and
shot in the arm for a couple games. Yeah.
yeah. And then outside of that, you have what's the guy that they got from Carolina?
Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen. Yes, thank you. I was like Danny Allen. No, that's not it. Brian.
I
Anyway,
like Kyle Allen, man,
I
but
like
yeah,
I
he's
like
he's like
Kyle Allen.
solidly third on the depth chart right now. So
Yeah, and which is I just I like what Rivera's doing up there. I think they need a quarterback, and this team can be excellent.
yeah,
Um, I think I'm this one. This one is the one where I'm kind of probably a little bit too high on them,
okay,
but also partially because, and we'll get into it in a couple weeks, but um, I have them winning. I have them beating Tampa Bay, and that's like I have them beating Tampa Bay, and um, basically
you pick some
winning a lot
upsets.
of divisions. Yeah, I picked a lot of upsets on them because I could see this team jumping up and surprising somebody. And I may have been a little bit overly aggressive on the upsets with them
Okay,
because of the quarterback play.
gotcha. Okay,
And next, then you get to the bottom of the division. Now I have the
yeah,
Giants and the Eagles at 3-14,
gotcha.
and that's not when we get done with it. That's not even the worst record I have in the league this year.
No, I got a couple lower than that, but yeah, that's
And
yeah.
and it's like the Giants. I don't like what I'm hearing about that. I have
No,
I
no,
have the
no.
Giants coming in third in the division, and the Eagles coming in fourth. First, I don't like what was going on up there. These players retiring
Yep.
and everything, and I've really soured on Joe Judge as a coach. I think it's just too much bullshit going on up there and too many
Yeah.
distractions. They don't have a quarterback that can play the position without turning the ball over 7 billion times a game. And that defense has not gotten better, and that's the difference. Like when you look at Tampa Bay when Winston was turning the ball over left and right, his third 2 years ago. That defense was good and it could and made up for a lot of those errors. And the
Yeah.
Giants defense can't do that. And they have a tough schedule. Like I mean, they play um, the NFC South. They play the AFC West. So they got to play Tampa Bay. They got to play Kansas City. They play Vegas. I mean, it's just a tough
Yeah.
schedule, and that's why I have the Giants at 3-14. Now Philadelphia is, I think 3 might be a little bit high for Philadelphia.
Okay.
Um, I don't like what they have up there. Sirianni, I don't think is head coach material from what I'm seeing. He goes into the press conferences confused,
He's
and
like ADHD. He's all
yeah,
over the place.
and talking about how he's judging competitiveness of potential draft picks by playing rock paper scissors over Skype.
Yeah. Yeah, you
It's
were
like
telling me that. Yeah.
it's just he's lost,
Yeah.
and like seriously won't name Jalen Hurts the starter. Jalen Hurts is obviously the starter. It's not going to be statue Flacco. I mean,
No.
shit, Flacco can throw the ball, but he can't fucking move. And but his just refusal and his refusal to name
Yeah.
Hurts as the starter makes me wonder what is going on up there that to make him think that Flacco might actually be the starter.
No, it's not going to
And
happen.
no, it's not going to happen. But it's an aging team. They missed their opportunity to trade Zach Ertz, which they should have. They could have gotten pieces back. They that offensive line hasn't gotten better. Defense is just getting older, and they're way past what they were. Was it 3 years ago? No, when they won the Super Bowl, it was 18.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they're just way. They've gotten older and haven't replaced those pieces. Number one, not this past draft, the draft before they should have drafted uh, Justin Jefferson over Rager. They don't know how to do draft picks. Like this year they should have drafted a quarterback. Like basically, Mac Jones and Justin Fields fell into their lap, and they pass on him, on both of those players, and it's just like
Yeah.
so they're it's obvious that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter there, but they're still leaving it open. Let Jalen Hurts be the starter. Name him the starter. Let him be the leader in that locker room.
Support
Let
him.
him
Yeah.
exactly. And they're not doing it, and that concerns me with the team. And like I said, I this 3 wins might be high for them.
Yeah. All right. So if you're kicking it over to me, I
Yeah.
will. I'll just. I guess I'll start at the bottom. Let's do that. I'll start at the bottom. I got Philly at the bottom with 2 wins, James, and I looked hard at this schedule, and I was like, man, it just seems like they're gonna squeeze out at least one or two more somewhere, but I'm just not seeing where.
Hmm.
And um, this one, to me, when I look at the schedule, I see nothing but red until after their bye week. That would have them go 0 and 13 before they get a win. And now, of course, it's the NFL. Something will happen somewhere in there and they'll get it. But I could for sure see them finishing 2 and 15 or 3 and 14, like you're saying.
Yeah, I have their first win in week 13, so I have them going 0 and 12. So we're not that far off on it.
Yeah, we're pretty damn close, man. We're pretty damn close. Uh, yeah, but I agree with you. They should just commit to Hurts. I think that that's bullshit. Sirianni, he's just like a freaking madman right now. Like every time I see him talk, he can't like clearly articulate and stay focused on the topic. He's moving all over the place, going really fast, and it's just not making sense. And so I agree that this team is it's a train wreck from a roster standpoint. They do still have some talent, but man, it's just I haven't seen Philly have this many holes in as long as I can remember, and so it's bad. But one step above them, I've got the Giants, and I've got the Giants going 5 and 12. And I thought 5 and 12 was kind of generous for them, but I didn't really want to pick them apart too much beyond that because they did win some games last year that I wasn't expecting. And so I was trying to give them a little bit of credit, but I agree with you that there's some funky stuff going on there. And, you had that exodus of guys retiring right around the same time. And then the one wide receiver trying to go to the coach's defense. And yeah, I agree. Daniel Jones, it's been one too many years now where they're saying, this has got to be the year. This has got to be the year. It's like he's a Jameis Winston with turnovers, but he's not a Jameis Winston with yardage production. And so it's like he's just not good. And so, and then Saquon, is he going to play week one? It looks like maybe things are moving in the right direction finally, but that was a whole crazy ordeal throughout the offseason. Just a lot of doubt, man. A lot of doubt with this team. And so, yeah, I can't get behind them. So I got them at 5 and 12. And then above them, I got Washington. And, you and I, we were inverted on Washington. I was high on them early in the offseason, and I originally at one point thought they could get as many as 12 wins. And since then, kind of like you're saying, I've really started to pick apart the quarterback room. And despite some of the talent around the quarterback, they've got some good wide receivers, I think a good tight end, some good running backs. I'm just nervous. Fitzpatrick has never really been a full season guy to get it done. And I think when you get all wishy-washy trading quarterbacks in and out, it means you got a problem. And that could be what happens this year. So I discounted him quite a bit in my final model here. I've got him going 7 and 10. And I think they, if things did go well at the quarterback position, I think they have probably 10 win potential. But 7 and 10 is as comfortable as I can get for right now until I see it on the field. And then at the top, I've got Dallas Cowboys. I agree with you. I'm getting excited for this team. which is tough because I bought into him big time last year and I ended up kicking myself for it. Because even with Dak lighting the world on fire, they were still losing games. Their defense was atrocious. They switched that up. They brought in Dan Quinn. I'm a huge fan of him as a defensive coordinator. I will say this about Dallas. I watched Hard Knocks, the first episode, and I love Hard Knocks. I do. And, I know a lot of people rip it up because it's like a very similar thing over and over every year, just with a new team and, sort of like a new sleeper guy that usually gets cut at the end. And, you see all the heartbreaks of, people getting released and whatever else. The thing that I did not like about at least the first episode is, man, I don't know, man. I don't like Mike McCarthy. I don't see a lot of energy out of him. I don't see like the kind of leadership that I want to see out of him. And here's the thing, you don't have to have like a shit ton of energy as a head coach, as long as you have like the right kind of like stoicism, or sort of like swagger behind you that people just trust you and they feel motivated just from you being the guy. I think that he was part of the problem last year, man. I don't think he's given people what they need as a leader. And it was only one episode. Hopefully I'll see more and I'll feel differently about him. I will say this, polar opposite. I loved watching Bill O'Brien on Hard Knocks with the Houston Texans. I thought he spoke great. I thought he was very motivational. I thought he was a great leader. The problem was whatever was in his head didn't make sense and it didn't work on the field. And so I guess, everybody, you got different pros and cons. And, we'll see what happens with Dallas this year. But I like that they brought in Micah Parsons in the draft. They got Trevon Diggs developing at cornerback. They still got Demarcus Lawrence, and then on offense, they got a shit ton of talent. And so I think with Dan Quinn, hopefully getting, squeezing some juice out of those guys on defense, I got him going 10-7, and I think that that's attainable for this team. So, yeah. And I see,
So,
yeah, I see you looking down here, man. What's the deal? Now you're ordering dinner?
no, of course not.
Oh, no, no. Okay. Here, I'll do the quote, no, or like the wink, like, no, I'm not doing that. And so it's, yeah, I mean, the shoulder thing with Dak, like you're saying, makes me a little bit nervous. And I forgot what was going on with Amari Cooper, but he had something kind of ailing him as well. Of course, everybody's talking about Zeke looking like he's in phenomenal shape, which he needs to be because to me, he kind of looked a little bit like a bum last year. And I know he had some excuses with Dalton being the quarterback and some injuries on the offensive line. I think Zeke needs to have a freaking rock solid year this year, or there's going to be some serious heat on him after this season.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing with Zeke is, if I was Dallas, I would want to go back and tell him to keep his ass in Cancun because, I mean, he has not lived up for to that contract whatsoever, and it's a terrible contract for Dallas. You have Jerry Jones, who has super ego and is not going to admit that he fucking made a mistake with that. It's just, I agree with you on what you were saying about Mike McCarthy. Like, he does not instill confidence in me, for that team. And I don't know. I struggled with their schedule because their schedule looks easy, and that's why it
Yeah.
ended up being so high. I mean, besides starting off with Tampa Bay, I mean, their division's easy. They have Carolina. They have
Well, I mean, they got their own division. They got the Giants and Philly. That's like four easy wins for them. Should be.
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, they play Minnesota. Yeah, okay, they play Kansas City and
Tampa Bay in week one and some things. But yeah, I mean, they
yeah,
do have, yeah, aside from having a couple really tough games, they do have a lot of winnable games.
exactly.
Well, okie dokie. So,
And then
yeah.
and then I have Washington and Dallas making the playoffs from this division, which is a complete 180 from what I had thought a couple months ago on that. And I'm probably way off on both these teams. I bought the cheese on Dallas, and from what I've seen on Hard Knocks highlights, I've seen the game, the game against Pittsburgh. What I could glean from that, and I'm probably way high on them, and I'm probably way high on Washington.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Washington's going to beat my 7 wins, but I don't know. And it's going to be on the defense. It's going to be on the defense. And they have a good looking defense. Um, okay, so that's our 2021 AFC NFC East Outlook. And next week, we'll kick it over to the AFC NFC West and pick things up from there. Shifting it over, James. Question of the week time. So we were talking earlier about Jacksonville and cornerback C.J. Henderson, who I believe was a top 10 pick in the draft last year. And, you're hearing rumors that they're maybe making a play for Michael Thomas, which I think would be sweet if you could give Trevor Lawrence that kind of a stud. That would help accelerate his development. Even though his contract is just so freaking bloated. But I mean, he's been a great wide receiver. I don't want to like take anything away from him. It's just intense. And who was it? DJ Shark. They got had the finger surgery or whatever, the thumb surgery or something. And so they do still have Laviska Shenault. They got Marvin Jones. They've got talent at wide receiver, but that would definitely put them into like a really premium position. But talking about C.J. Henderson for a minute, you know, when I heard the news about him being on the trade block, I almost instantly thought about the Lions because they did just release cornerback Quentin Dunbar, who earlier in the offseason, there was a lot of positive news about him being a solid player in likely the top cornerback in Detroit this year. And then something recently fell apart with him. I believe it was a lot of personal issues, but I can't really speak to it. And the team released him. And so now I'm looking at it, and the Lions, from what I'm seeing, they have an estimated 17 million in available cap space. Henderson, I thought, flashed potential last year, and and from what I remember, he was fast as hell, man. And so it would be kind of wild going after him and having two top 10 cornerbacks from the same draft on your roster. But I think it's also a team in a rebuild, and this is a young cornerback with still a high ceiling, in my opinion. It's just Jacksonville and Urban Meyer and them saying, "Hey, he's not our guy." I would jump on this, and I don't think you have to give up a shit ton to get him. I mean, yeah, he was a first round pick last year, but this team knows that they're trading him in the first week of preseason. You might be able to get him for, I don't know, a third round pick's maybe low. Maybe it's got to be a second round pick, but I would take a look at this guy, man, especially because we have a need at the position. I would do it, my opinion. If you could negotiate the right deal, I'd go after this guy, man. What do you think?
I, you know, I'm on the fence because something concerns me, and I agree. It might just be, oh, you're not my guy. Get the fuck out of here. But something concerns me when a team is ready to move on from a player that quickly.
I mean, if it was
It's
Okuda, I would say, yeah, okay, but it's not.
right, but something just concerns me about that, and I know that um, you know they're talking about if seriously Michael Thomas is a potential to get back in some sort of deal with CJ Henderson, then I mean hell, it's that's a steal. There's no way in hell the Lions are going to be able to get him for like a third round, fourth round, whatever, a lower draft pick. And looking at it, he was pick number 9. So yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
we'd have 3 and 9. I mean, that's
Yeah,
uh,
and but something just concerns me about them so willing and ready to get rid of him. And part of it, and part of them might was it was the fact that he did get hurt last year, and so he missed a lot of games. So then we'll have 2 injury prone cornerbacks instead of 1.
all right. So you're not in on it. I got you. The injury thing I think is so hard to predict. For me, it's about can you get him for a good value? And so probably a second round pick's not even a good value. But if I could get him for a third round pick, I think it would be worth trying just to see if that potential's really there and it's just a regime change kind of thing and he's just a casualty of that.
I don't know. Like it's just weird.
You don't have to know. Fuck it. It's
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 you
it's
know.
it's weird. And I don't. I I mean, you could be right. It could be the fact that he it's just another guy. But then again, he was on the COVID list earlier this week or earlier this year. This week he resumed from it, um, or he came back from or was taken off it. Um, but who do they have to at cornerback that they like better than him? Because
Yeah, I think
that's
they
what it is.
brought
Like,
in what's his name from Seattle? Um,
oh, no, I
Shaq
know who.
Griffin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still it. Let me take a look at their cornerbacks because if he's that bad that Sidney Jones, Tyson Campbell, uh, Herndon, DJ Daniel, like if all these other guys are better than him, he's that bad, and they're ready to get rid of him already.
Yeah,
Then
so
what?
you're not yeah, it's not worth the risk in your opinion. I got you.
Yeah, yeah, not worth the risk at all.
Okay. Well, hey, whatever. That's the question of the week. Some of them are more riveting than others. But so for anybody who's still watching, you are welcome to share your thoughts on the question of the week. You can hit us up in our comments section. And just for the heck of it, hit us up with comments. Let us know what you're thinking. You got something you want to hear about? Maybe you have a proposed question of the week that you want us to ask. Let us know. We will consider it. Take it under advisement. And so, James, that's all I got for this week, man. Any closing thoughts? Anything on your list? Anything burning in your brain?
I don't think so. It's just it was a light week on the news,
Okay.
so I
Yeah.
don't think so.
And yeah, I mean, preseason's here, so I'm expecting next week we'll have a lot more things to talk about. There's going to be some guys getting hurt, maybe a couple trades. You're going to hear, oh, this guy's rising. Oh, that guy maybe not looking so good. And yeah, so we'll have a little more action next week, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, good stuff. Well, yeah, anybody who's watching, we hope you liked the show. If you did, hit us with the thumbs up or the like or whatever way you're watching us. Just let us know that we did good. And if you really liked us, hit subscribe. James, like always, man, it was fun, and I will catch you later.
All right, sounds good.
See ya.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.